Basically, the game is all about resources, and I don't mean the nodes that you can go get, although that is part of it. Everything's a resource. You have silver, you have bronze, you have honor. All these things are all resources. So it's all about minimizing and your waste and maximizing your efficiency. So there's I'll start off specifically for silver and bronze. So you can save silver by spinning bronze, and you can save bronze by spinning silver. Uh, and each time you do it, you're shaving a little bit off of what you would spend. For example, a kit. You can buy the kit with silver by building it, or you can buy it with bronze for free without having to build it. All right, free is the wrong word. Uh, so, in order to build it, you have to go spend the bronze, refining the materials, and building it into something. Each time you do that, you make about, it's actually a little bit better than it used to be because they changed the way kits work and the prices and things like that. So it used to be a 12% gain, 12 to 18% depending on which tier you're running with. And now it's closer to about 20 across the board. And so how you build your kits, for those that don't know, real quick, you go out, you harvest the materials, you refine them into other materials, and then you go to the unit maker and make your kits. That's going to save you about 20%. Now, if you go harvest, you're going to spend a little bit of bronze, but it's going to be infinitely less bronze than if you bought the kit with bronze. And then when you go to do silver, same thing. So you can use bronze instead of silver for some things, and then you can spend the silver to make. So each time you do something like that, it saves you about 20%. So, and for example, this last territory, if I were to not have made kits or not had a stockpile, whatever, it would have cost me about 350,000 bronze. I use expensive troops, and that's why I learned to tweak all the things. So efficiency, going back to even experience that you get with units, that's also a resource you get. Everything in the game is a resource. Just think of it as taxing your time, whether you got to grind it up or whatever. So not using troops that aren't territory war worthy till you have a solid team for territory war, max level, helps you out, because a higher level troop is going to be better than a lower level troop performance wise, which is going to get you more silver. So I always preach the pike militia, so I'll use that as an example. If you have max level pike militia, that's one unit that you're going to bring. It's dirt ass cheap to replace, and it will perform well and get you, which makes you money. Because the higher you perform, obviously, the more bronze you get. They're also really easy to make. So you can go out and harvest for one day and make 100 kits and be done with it for 2 or 3. I will go ahead and say that I do have premium for most of my time. So that helps. That's 30%. For those that don't know, premium gives you 30% bronze and unit and something else. Give me a minute. Oh, honor. I forgot about that. So, like I said, everything is a resource. So it gives you 30% more honor, bronze, and unit XP. Technically hero XP, but nobody cares about that after a little. So obviously building kits helps you out. The other thing is harvest every day. My technology tree is completely maxed because I harvest every day. The cap used to be 50 harvests a year, and now it's 100. And this is actually the best I've ever had it, because if you look, nowhere in our alliance do they charge tax. So you can hit every alliance zone, you can hit it twice for what I call free. Technically it's not free, you'll be paying bronze. And then you can hit what we own at this particular time, Okja. You can hit that for 3 times each
Sell
day.
that stuff for silver?
No. Yes, both. So I use I'll be honest. I throw away most of the regular materials because my supply dump is full. But I do sell the. I would say that I probably sold in the past 6 months probably about a mil, give or take, in exotics. That's where I make most of my money. And I don't care if somebody fights me because I do the bottom price. I put them up in increments of 500. The exotics. You're welcome to do 100. You might sell more than me. I don't really care. So the other thing you could do for money that I don't recommend it, although right now with the Borderlands being uh, uninhabited, it might be really worthwhile. I hadn't actually thought about it until I just said that. Is I take Eastern unit kits to the west and vice versa. So, for example, which actually kind of leads into my next segment, which will be fief quests. Uh, when you do fief quests, you get kits for the area that you're in. So we would get Eastern kits here. Uh, I lived in the West for a long time. I've probably sold because of the fief quests that I get, those little boxes, 100 Squire kits, which is probably another 50, 60,000 sold. And that's kind of what I was talking about when I said that you spend bronze. In other words, when you go harvest, you have to spend bronze, right? But then you use you sell the extra exotics that you don't need to make silver, and then you use the silver because when you go and refine the material, it costs silver, and when you build it, it costs a little bit of silver, and then that is how you spend silver to save yourself bronze because now you're not buying the kit. And then of course with siege, it's the same thing. So you're by going around and doing that and building kits and siege and all that other stuff and harvesting it yourself, you're going to save about 20%. And with the recent cut to for those that don't know, I think it was season 2 is when they cut the price of unit kits and things like that. So it's really easy now to make. Any questions on anything so far?
I'm looking up the resource market as you talk.
Okay. If you got questions, go ahead. But the other thing that you can do is if you look through the weeklies, I apologize. I said weeklies, I meant daily. So I don't have them all available. But 500 bronze here and 500 bronze, you think, okay, who gives a fuck? But the little shit like the duel, that's 500. Cost nothing. The going on patrol where you hit a band of roaming rebels, 500 bronze. Just go hit an easy one and take an overwhelming unit. Or another thing you could do, I used to do back when I was very low level and had problems, fighting rebels, even the easy ones, is what I would do is I had my first 3-star troop was arquebusiers. So I would set up my arquebusiers and then just ride around in circles on my horse in front of while the unit died. Because that was
So I'm
Go ahead.
I have a quick question for you. So
Okay.
I'm looking at the market and I'm looking at some things I can build. I could build artillery, a bunch of like scorpions, right? And sell those on the auction and make silver.
Yes, you can. Just remember, one thing a lot of people forget is do the math, right? One, when you go and you keep in mind that you're going to spend bronze, and it's not, depending on where you're going, I consider bronze and silver a 1-for-1. So that's when you got to remember, you got to go harvest it. So that's a bronze cost, and then you got to refine it. That's a silver cost, and then you got to actually take the materials that you refined into the wood and whatnot, and then pay the silver on top of it again. And then don't forget that you pay the tax when you put it up for sale. Two things. One, you pay the bronze tax to put it up for sale, and then two, you don't get the full cut. Right? They take 10%. I can't remember. Yeah, there it is, 10%. So when you do your math and you're looking at the prices and things like that, just remember to keep those things into consideration, right? You're going to pay, almost a 20% tax because you pay the. I don't actually know what the bronze cost is. It's so low, I don't know, but I think it's 10, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't do what I did at the beginning, and I thought, oh, I'll sell all these things, and what I did is I forgot to go out and count the bronze that I harvested all the materials with. So I wasn't making money. I was breaking even, which is great because if you're breaking even and you're going out and harvesting all these things, then you're getting free technology. And technology is awesome because the further along you get, the better you are. Because like now when I go harvest, I take my serfs out. I get 350 experience because how harvesting works is you get 200 for the base harvest, and then each exotic, depending on its color, gives you an additional experience. So obviously, when you get to that first, like for the technology, there's the first one for each one. Like for example, on the top line, buried treasure, it increases your exotics by 100. So now all of a sudden, instead of, when you first start out, you might make 215, 218, something like that on a harvest. Once you get that, you'll be making 230, 240. And then the other thing you're going to want to do to maximize your harvesting is, like I said, I would harvest everything in the region. Yes, it's going to hurt you in bronze, but then you refine it down, you make something, you put it up for sale, or you make a unit kit that you use, and then you don't have to use your bronze. So it's still 20% cheaper. So the region that we're in, iron is the regional. So if you see a blue or purple iron, you want to go hit it because the only place in the game you can get tungsten is in this region. And tungsten is used for most tier 4 and 5 by star, if you want to call it that, Eastern kits. And then speaking of exotics, if the resource is exhausted, it does not affect and you can still harvest it. You get 50% of the normal, whatever it is. Like let's say this oak logging camp was exhausted. You go harvest it, you only get 50% of the oak, but you get 100% of the exotic. Now, obviously, it requires a requisition token, but again, which is a resource. But I have over 200 of them, and I use them all the time because they're really easy to get. The other quick things you can do to make money is, I know rebel camps suck. I hate them. They're boring as, but they give you a vault every time. So you want to make sure that you hit your weekly vault. Those are the biggest things to make money. The other thing is, if you're having problems with cash, what you're going to want to do in sieges and fields is stop at 3-star units. And you don't want to make a 3-star unit unless you can get either cheap kits or make them. So, for example, we're in the East. I wouldn't pick Squires as my 3-star unit because I can't build the Squire kits here. Now, I can build prefecture guard kits here, so I would pick them as my 3-star unit if I wanted a melee unit, a sword and shield type unit. That's the gist layout. Does anybody got any questions of that or any, feedback?
Useful information. Thank you.
No problem. If nobody's got questions, I'm going to go ahead and go into the advanced part of Fief Quest. So everybody thinks Fief Quest, hey, it's free, cheap honor. Leadership thinks of it as, hey, that's the way how we get our prestige so he can level up the house and experience and whatnot. Another thing it also does is if you do one that you own, whenever you do a Fief Quest, you'll notice that there's this weird thing called building materials. And these building materials do exactly what you think they do. They go in to build up the fief. A fief can only get a Fief Quest that is 1 star higher than its level. So we leveled up Okja today. We tomorrow, when the Fief Quest reset, we have a chance. I would not expect it, especially with the prosperity of which it'll be 30 Sunday or tomorrow. But I wouldn't expect a 3-star. It is possible, but the percentage chance is really small. But we'll probably see some better 2-stars, and we will probably see better even 1-stars for that. So again, everything's a resource. Your fief quest gives you honor, which is a resource. It gives the house experience to level, which I don't think is important anymore. One of the other leaders can correct me on that. But it also gives prestige, which is yet another resource. So these are all resources that are important. And having more building materials. So at the end of the week, the weekly upkeep for a fief. If you'll look at, you can look at any fief overview. It'll say weekly upkeep. That's how many building kits it requires, or whatever it's called, building materials, to keep or lower its prosperity. Now, what prosperity does is it takes prosperity of a percentage off of the fief's treasury that gets paid out to the players. So you want a higher prosperity. And obviously owning more fiefs mean you own more. You make more money. The other resource I kind of hinted at, and just to make clear that I'm actually spelling it out. When you do a fief quest, like if you want to, let's look at, I don't even know where there's good, we'll look at Oak. So if we go to Oakja, pull up the fief quest, and we'll go down to Granite. So if you go down to Granite, you see that you get, because we own it, you get all the other rewards. So that makes usually, if we own the fief, it's usually considered the equivalent of 1-star higher because you get the other. But you also get a box of Eastern Common Kit and a box of Uncommon. Now each box will actually, I don't, maybe.
What are those things for? I've got a whole bunch of different kinds of kits that just sit around in my wagon all day.
Well, I would put them into your supply dump. That way you don't lose them. But the what they do, that's really the other resource that you get. So, for example, that Uncommon Eastern kit, which is the green one, it is going to give you a green kit, or it can, what I call crit, and give you a blue kit. So, for example, going back to why I said I like to use prefecture guards while I'm living here, is that green one has a chance to give you a prefecture guard.
Can you sell those for silver?
You can sell those for silver. I personally don't recommend it because if it's green and below, it's trash and it'll never sell. Now, by all means, put them up for sale. Try it out. I wouldn't waste my time. I just destroy them for the most part once I get too much, because I have a hard time with my supply dump space. So, and I've been doing it so long, and I do my 20 fief quests pretty much religiously every day. And just to give you, I've never built a prefecture guard kit, and I'm going to look to see how much I have. I have 95 prefecture guardsman kits, and I use them. So, and I've never bought one, or I've never bought them. I've never built them, just because I do. I have 127 prefecture pikeman kits, and those are all 3-star units that I got for. I actually stopped using the prefecture guard several months ago, and I started using it again because I noticed that my bronze was trending downward, and that's because I've unlocked, with the honor change, I've unlocked so many high level troops, and I'm using them all at once. And so I was like, I probably should think about changing that up. So I went and looked through my kits, and I had 100 and some odd of the prefecture guard kits. My prefecture guards are maxed out, so that worked out perfectly. I got an effective troop I can use that is essentially free to use in combat. Which actually reminds me of a thing I meant to bring up earlier, free in combat. If you can, I highly recommend the mercenaries, the Black Dragon units, just because that gives you 10% experience, 10% bronze, and you'll never have to use a kit to replace it. So they're a free unit. And they're already max level. So all that stuff goes back to being a resource, right? By adding up everything you get, you throw 10% on top of it. And the last resource I kind of wanted to talk about was experience. And just real quick, I'm sure most of you already know it, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it anyway. How experience works is damage done by your troops becomes experience earned by your troops. All the troops combine into a pool. So if you take 5 troops out and they all get like easy math, so let's say they all kill 100 experience worth of that's 500 experience. Now let's say 3 of those units are max level, then you're only dividing it up amongst 2. So the 2 units that are not max level will get 250 experience, assuming that you brought them out. If you don't bring them out, I think you get 20% of a share. Don't quote me on the 20%, but it's pretty rough estimate. Anybody have questions about that? Cool. I didn't really articulate that very well.
I'd like to add on to that last part.
Yeah, please.
When you have, say, you have 5 troops, 3 are max level, 2 are not. If you bring one of those units that aren't max level into the fight, that one will receive the majority of the XP, and the one that you didn't bring into the fight will only be rewarded a little bit. So if you bring both of them into the fight, they will split it 50-50, the entire XP that you gain during that match.
Cool. I think I was a little bit more articulate way of saying what I... Thank you. The other resource that we have is skill points for your character. And how skill points for your character are, one, if you will, is damage done by your character, damage taken by your character. Also, damage taken by your troops helps your troop experience. I forgot to mention that. So, damage dealt by your character and damage taken by your character helps your skill. I don't know how the mastery points, or did I make the other way around? Sorry. That I don't know exactly how skill points are awarded, but mastery points are awarded by damage taken and damage given. That's pretty much all the resources that you can get. The cheapest, easiest, I don't know if cheapest is the right word, but the easiest way to fix your financials is to, 1, go premium, and 2, get a Black Dragon kit. The archers are the cheapest. I think the pike are also the same price. I'm not sure. I know the archers are the cheapest. That's the ones I got. That said, they kind of suck. And out of all of the Black Dragon units, I think the javelins are the best because they have a shield wall. They're not a strong shield wall, but they'll stop arrows. And they do okay as javelins. So those 2 things alone will automatically boost your bronze making ability by 40. Plus, it boosts your unit experience. Now, the Black Dragon units don't stack, so taking 3 of them into battle doesn't give you any more than... So, big thing is harvest, and when you fill up, that's actually how I got into building. Is I was always harvesting, trying to get my technology up, and then I ran out of space in my supply dump, so I started refining the materials. So I had like thousands of wood and thousands of ore, not the ore, but the iron bars, you know. And so I was like, well, what I gotta do? I need more room. So I started building kits, and then all of a sudden, I was struggling with money, and I couldn't afford to bring. To be honest, at 3-star units, I couldn't take them. But I started building my kits, and then all of a sudden, I looked down, and where I was before, like 50,000 was the highest amount of bronze I'd ever had. I looked down, all of a sudden, I had like 200,000. I was like, just because I wasn't having to buy kits. So the weekly quests are good. Actually, one of the really cool things is if you look at go to the weekly quest and you click on firepower, This one's crazy easy to get done, and it kind of helps itself. So you got to kill 100 enemies using artillery, and then you get 1 free green artillery. That's what that box will give you. Sometimes it gives 2, but I just consider it 1. You deploy 5 artillery pieces. That gives you 1. And then build an artillery piece. Technically, that gives you 2, right? You get the box for building it and the one that you built. So really, by building 2 artillery pieces, that's going to give you 5 free ones every week. Technically, you built 2, so it's not. But that helps you get that weekly quest for fire on my order, the one that says deploy 5 artillery pieces. And that's about it. Just focus on the other reason why I really recommend premium is because of the keys. If you look on the weekly quest, you get double the keys. So I'll get 8 keys, and you get more when you open the bags too. So I get 8 extra. And that really helps your silver, because vaults usually give anywhere between 2 to 4,000. Plus, they can give you a blue schematic, which is, you never see them for sale because nobody wants to sell them, or you rarely do anyway.
Even if you do, they're like 40,000 plus. So
yeah. So just what helped me a lot is thinking of every single thing as a resource. What am I going out there to do, and what resource am I working on? Bronze, silver, experience, honor, and the synergy between bronze and silver. In other words, harvesting gives you the bronze. Also, it helps you get the right, because you've already got the materials. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Does anybody have anything they want to add about how they make their? Okay. Anybody have any questions over anything I said? All right. That's it. That's all I got.
Live?
Yeah.